Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys, and firstly I just want to say a huge thank you for looking after the channel whilst I've been away for a week or so. It is always much appreciated. And let's crack on with it. Our first story comes from Independent State 802. There is a trigger warning on it of domestic violence, so if you do want to skip the story, please feel free to do so. Timestamps are always down in the description and along the timeline below. Thank you. The story is titled, Am I the Arsehole Here for Inviting My Neighbor's Husband Over for Coffee and a Playdate? His wife accused me of pursuing him, and my husband thinks she was right to confront me. About a year ago, a couple, Emily, female 30s, and Jake, male 30s, moved into the house next to ours, 30s. Emily and I were both pregnant at the time, with due dates a few weeks apart. We would run into each other in the neighborhood or out on the street and eventually became friendly. We text occasionally to check in on each other during our pregnancies, and our husbands became friends as well. For some context, Emily had a very difficult pregnancy and was on bed rest for the last month of her pregnancy before she gave birth. They moved away from their support system for Jake's job and didn't have family nearby, so I would sometimes drop off meals when I was cooking for my own family. Emily had her baby about a month before I had mine. After the babies were born, we didn't see much of each other. I invited her a few times to go for walks with the babies, but she always declined, saying the baby was fussy or napping. I figured she was just overwhelmed as a first-time mum. Our husbands continued to see each other occasionally during this time. Last week, I was walking my baby when I ran into Jake, who was also out walking his baby. We ended up walking together and chatting for about 30 minutes. Our chat did not include anything personal. We talked about the babies, our jobs, our summer plans, and when we got back to our street, the babies had woken up. So as we passed my house, I asked if he wanted to come in for a coffee and let the babies play together. He thanked me for the invite and declined, saying he needed to get home because he had errands to run. A few days later, Emily invited me over for a playdate. I accepted and even offered to bring some food for the babies because she had mentioned being nervous about introducing non-pureed foods. While the babies were playing, she suddenly said, Jake told me you went for a walk together last week. I said yes, we ran into each other while out with the babies. She then asked, why did you invite him back to your house? I was caught off guard and tried to explain that the babies had woken up and I had meant it as a playdate. She responded that she didn't know what I was playing at, but her husband was off limits and uninterested in case I had any ideas. I was in shock, so I froze for a couple of minutes. When I was able to respond, I told her it was bizarre that she would interpret a walk with her husband and an invitation for coffee and a baby playdate as anything other than innocent. I also told her that my husband was working from home that day and was in the house. I also said that I hope she heals from whatever happened in her life that made her view something so innocent as a threat. She laughed in my face and said, rich coming from you. Just because your husband treats you like dirt doesn't make it okay for you to go after my husband. My jaw dropped and I just picked up my baby and left. I fucking hate myself for not giving her a piece of my mind and leaving without saying anything, but I felt like I had just been slapped. My husband and I had been having some serious issues. When I got home, I told him what happened and asked if he had said anything about our problems to Jake. He swore that he hasn't, but I'm not sure I believe him because how else would Emily know anything? My husband then said Emily was right, that it was inappropriate to invite Jake in, and my husband is now mad at me over the whole thing. Am I the arsehole here? ETA, I discovered my husband was cheating on me 2 months ago. ETA 2, I'm going through some of the comments and I think I may not have explained this part well. Emily didn't avoid hanging out with me or us. The four of us with our kids and their baby have spent time together on multiple occasions. Going to the park, we have had them over. They have had us over, but always the four of us and the kids. My older child likes Emily and Jake. They have always been nice to us. Jake and my husband hang out together alone sometimes, but Emily has always had a reason not to hang out alone with me. The other day when she invited me over was the first time we'd had a solo playdate for the babies. A commenter says to OP, the fact that the husbands hang out and she actively avoids you before this event happened means that they already have a negative opinion of you based on how your husband speaks of you. You have a husband problem for sure. Commenter replies saying, well, Emily saw the husband bring his side piece over and chose to avoid OP rather than tell her. Look at the timing. Emily stopped being friendly when she went on bed rest and was home all day, and OP's husband works from home, at least sometimes. if she has a negative opinion of OP, Emily wouldn't have said, "Your husband treats you like dirt," or would have been, "You treat your husband like dirt," or "You're a piece of shit," etc. Blum replies to all this saying this: "I wouldn't be surprised if he admitted to cheating on her." The commenter comes in and says, "I don't think the coffee invitation was automatically inappropriate. It sounds like you saw a neighbor while both of you were out with your babies and extended what you thought was a friendly invitation. What stands out to me is that Emily didn't just say the invitation made her uncomfortable. She immediately accused you of pursuing her husband and then brought up problems in your marriage. That makes me wonder how she knew those details in the first place. There could be innocent explanations. Your husband may have talked to Jake, Jake may have talked to Emily, or she may have picked up on things herself, but it does seem like there is information being shared somewhere that you are not aware of. I also think it's worth noting that accusing someone of wanting your spouse isn't proof that the accuser is doing something wrong themselves. Sometimes people react that way because of insecurity, past experiences, relationship issues, or simple misunderstandings. What surprises me most is your husband's reaction. Instead of being upset that you were accused and insulted, he immediately sided with Emily. To me, that's a bigger issue than the invitation itself." Another commenter says, "Not the arsehole, but your husband taking another woman's side over yours makes me suspicious. He claims that he didn't say anything to the husband, which only leaves the wife. I suspect the reason she thinks you're after her husband is because your husband is after her. Whether or not it's reciprocal is a different story, but she heard it from someone, and it clearly wasn't her own husband." A commenter says, "Not the arsehole. In fact, that was very thoughtful of you. Seems like your husband lied and did indeed say something to Jake, who mentioned it to his wife with zero thought that it would be relevant, leading to all of this. Plus, if your husband was working from home that day, how can he still side with her? That makes zero sense." OP responded saying he agreed with her that it was inappropriate of me to invite Jake over, regardless if he was home or not. It's a bad look in his opinion. The commenter replied saying, "If a bad look is trying to be neighborly with the family right next door to you with a baby almost the exact same age who grew up with your child, he needs to reevaluate. Or is it a bad look because he doesn't actually treat you well? Emily might be uncomfortable, but maybe she wouldn't be if she knew you were happy." Several says it's a bad look because OP's husband is a cheater. He's projecting his bad behavior onto her rather than work on his own issues and repair what's broken in him. OP says the former. He thinks it looks bad asking to hang out with a guy alone in our home. Yes, my husband was home working, but he wasn't part of the Playdate. Yeah, and I agree with a lot of the comments. When I saw the edit and I said I discovered my husband was cheating on me 2 months ago, suddenly Emily's comment made a lot more sense. Not because OP was after Jake or anything like that, but because someone clearly had been talking in the background. Emily turning around and saying, "Just because your husband treats you like dirt doesn't make it okay for you to go after my husband," isn't just something someone randomly comes out with. That's been heard, something's going on in the background, isn't it? And the husband's reaction was wild because instead of turning around and saying, "That's ridiculous, you weren't hitting on him or anything like that, I was in the house," he immediately sided with Emily, which is a bit rich considering he was the one that had cheated before, so maybe it is projection from him. So it was around 2 months later that OP came back in with an update and says, 2 months ago, I made another post on a different sub, once again seeking out perspective about a very awkward situation that took place. You can find that post here and then shares the link to the post. I came back to post an update. I think it's a way for me to process what has happened since. Shortly after my last post, my husband admitted that he had confided in Jake about his infidelity. He said he felt guilty and remorseful and wanted to talk it out with a friend. He claimed he didn't realize Jake would tell Emily and that she would throw our marriage struggles in my face the way she did. He apologized for discussing our issues without my consent and promised to distance himself from them. He also apologized again for the affair, which he swore was over. He told me the affair partner was a co-worker who had since left the company. He promised he wanted to change and rebuild our relationship, so I forgave him and gave him another chance. Again. Things have been going well. My husband was attentive and loving. He was helping more at home, spending more time with the kids and showing me affection. For a moment, it really felt like my husband had returned to me. In hindsight though, I think it was love bombing. Last week, I had a medical appointment that I needed to attend alone, so my husband stayed home with our baby. I was anxious because he had never been alone with a baby for that long and I wasn't sure he would be able to put him down for his nap. While I was sitting in the waiting room, I logged into our baby camera just to check the baby had gone down okay. That's when everything began to unravel. The baby was asleep in his crib and my husband was walking out of the room. Then I heard a woman's voice asking if the baby was finally asleep. My husband replied confirming that he was. I couldn't see the woman because she was outside the camera's view, but her voice was familiar. I thought it sounded like Emily. After my appointment, I checked our Ring doorbell recordings from that day. There she was. Emily had knocked on our door and my husband let her in minutes after I left for my appointment. She left an hour and a half later. I was in complete shock. When I got home, I didn't confront my husband. I was tired of his lies and wanted the truth before saying anything. I went through our doorbell camera history and found many more instances of Emily coming over while I was gone. In one video, I saw them kissing on our front porch. I saved everything. The next day, I messaged Jake and told him that I needed to speak with him because I had bad news about my husband and his wife that I believed he deserved to know. He didn't reply. Shortly afterwards, my husband called me furious. Jake had forwarded my messages to him and warned him that I was trying to frame him and Emily. He went quiet, then ended the call. Later that evening, he came home late and intoxicated. He was angry and blamed me for destroying our lives and for trying to expose the affair. I yelled at him and then said I wanted a divorce. He lost it. He hit me, kicked me, punched me, and even tried to choke me. Somehow I managed to get away from him. My 4-year-old woke up because of the screaming and commotion, so I grabbed her and ran into the bedroom and locked the door. My daughter was terrified and clinging to me while my husband banged and kicked the door, threatening to break it down. Luckily, I had my phone with me and I called 911. The rest of the night was a blur. My husband was arrested close to midnight on a Tuesday. The entire street woke up to the sirens and confrontation with the police. I was taken to the hospital afterwards because I was bleeding and covered in bruises. Our neighborhood was shocked. We had always been the friendly, polite neighbors and no one expected this could happen behind closed doors. I was done protecting my husband's image. He destroyed our life, not me. When neighbors asked what happened, I told them the truth. He hurt me after I discovered he was cheating on me with Emily. A few days later, Jake reached out to me. He was apologetic and felt responsible for not believing me when I tried to warn him. Jake told me my husband had been confiding in him about our marriage problems. According to Jake, my husband had told him that I was the one who cheated in the past, that I was unstable because of my PPD/PPA, and that I had been hurting our children. None of that is true. Jake also told me he had confided in my husband about problems in his own marriage. Looking back, it seems my husband used those vulnerabilities and the information Jake shared with him to get closer to Emily. After everything happened, I finally called my family and told them the truth. They knew I had been struggling and distant, but they thought it was because of PPD. They had no idea how much I had been actually carrying alone. I told them about the affair, the threats, the manipulation, and how scared and exhausted I had become. They're in my corner, and they're trying to help me figure out my next steps. I feel like a weight has been lifted off of me for the first time in a long time. I don't feel alone. A commenter says to OP, I hope Emily loses her marriage. OP replied saying, I don't know what Jake's plans are, but after he sent me that text, I sent him the images I had saved of Emily coming to my house at odd times and the video of them kissing. He has all the information now to make an informed decision. At the very least, I'm sure Emily is having a really hard time because she hasn't shown her face around the neighborhood since last Wednesday. Master replies to that saying, whatever. Emily can go to hell and so can Jake. The sheer audacity of the guy to reach out to you in any other way than on his knees in shame. Opie says, my husband successfully manipulated both me and Jake, maybe even Emily. Who knows? Jake seemed very remorseful and apologetic in the text. He blamed himself for what happened. And yeah, if he hadn't forwarded my message, this may have not happened. But like I told Jake, my husband made the choice to physically assault me, and no one is to blame for that but my husband. The manipulation from the husband in this is just absolutely wild and scary at the same time because he was rewriting everything, telling Jake that Opie had cheated, that she was unstable because of postpartum, depression and anxiety and all this, and that she was harming their kid. And it's a scary pattern that we see in a lot of these stories that once Opie uncovered the truth, what was actually going on, he didn't panic because he'd been caught cheating. He panicked because everything around him was collapsing, and that's when the violence came in. And like I said, it's a pattern that we see in many of these stories with abusive relationships. Once the lies stop working, once his control starts slipping away, it just escalates further. And I'm glad that Opie isn't protecting her husband's image anymore. She told her family, she told the neighbors the truth, and she has the evidence as well. And I really do hope that Opie leans on her family and people around her for that support at the same time. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from a throwaway account from the Relationship Advice subreddit. This title, man. My 28 male fiance, 30 female, confessed to hooking up with another guy shortly before our wedding. I'm struggling. How can I move past this? I'm 28 male, feeling super lost about my relationship with my fiance, 29 female. I'd appreciate a fresh perspective. We've been together for about 3 years now, but have been friends for 5 years. We met in the same workplace friend group. She's my best friend and my partner in every way. Our relationship hasn't been without challenges, but we've been a solid team. Last December, my fiancée asked if we could take a break so she could recalibrate. She said she was struggling with finding her purpose outside of our relationship. I've never believed in the concept of breaks, but I wanted to support her, so I agreed and we set boundaries. Essentially, we wouldn't see other people. The break wasn't long. By Christmas, it was already over. She said it was a mistake and she wanted us, and things were good. Our communication was stronger and like no time apart had ever occurred. We were engaged by New Year's. My fiancée didn't want to wait anymore. She wanted us to start our lives together in marriage. This past week, she's been anxious and blamed it on wedding jitters. Then the other day, she sat me down and confessed to hooking up with some guy during the break. She met him on a dating app and they had sex a couple of times. She claims the guilt's been eating at her and she opened up to her sister, 31 female, a month ago. Apparently her sister pushed her to come clean before the wedding. When my fiancé stalled, her sister warned she'd tell me herself if my fiancé didn't. It was a lot to accept at once. I barely said a word. I was too numb and I'm still wrapping my mind around everything. Like my fiancé had a complicated connection with sex due to past experiences. When we got together, she wanted us to practice celibacy, and that evolved into celibacy until marriage. She believed us waiting would cement our bond and elevate our relationship. We focused on other forms of intimacy. The no sex stuff was never a deal breaker for me. Sex wasn't the basis of my love for her, nor was it why I wanted to be with her, and she was well worth the wait in any capacity for me. But I'm struggling now because I don't understand how she can turn around and give herself to some random guy in a way she's never given herself to me. How celibacy was so important to her, but she gave that away for him. She swears the other guy meant nothing, and that it was the biggest mistake of her life. That she ended the fling because I'm the one she's in love with and who she wants to be with. But I don't know. Nothing she said really landed for me, to be honest. I asked if she would have told me if it wasn't for her sister. She said she doesn't know. She promised to do anything to rebuild trust and repair our relationship, no matter how long it takes. She still wants us to proceed with the wedding. She said she believed in our love and how we can withstand anything. How this doesn't have to define us. When I didn't engage, she just cried and kept asking me to say something. I told her I needed to clear my head. I don't like speaking when my emotions are all over the place. I tend to regret it, so I prefer to gather myself. But my fiancé hasn't respected my request, and when I don't engage, she's hurt. And now she's also super affectionate. She's always been affectionate, but she's different with it now, if that makes sense. This doesn't feel like real life. I never expected this betrayal from her. We're supposed to be wedding planning and everything that comes with it. Our wedding is around the corner. We're having a modest gathering, so the planning wasn't that long. I feel so numb to everything. I'm in love with her, and she's the woman I wanted to share a life with. But for the first time, I'm questioning everything. I don't even trust myself anymore, to be honest. I feel so stupid and like such a joke. I'm just lost. How do I move past this and navigate our relationship? Nah, that would have been an automatic deal breaker for me. Even at the point of wanting this trial separation, it would have me reevaluating things in itself. The fact that you set up boundaries that you wouldn't see other people, and then she went on a dating app. She downloaded a dating app, met a stranger and slept with him. I believe that was planned all along. That's what she was going to do. It wasn't a spur of the moment of thing. All of that takes planning, the downloading the app, the setting up an account, all that kind of thing. And let's face it, she wouldn't have confessed unless her sister backed her into a corner. And the sad part for me in this is that Opiate doesn't even seem, I know it's always hard in text format, but doesn't even seem angry within the post. It's just absolutely devastated because he believed that they shared some kind of values or whatever, and it's just completely fallen apart. But for me, I certainly wouldn't be able to move on after that. A commenter says to OP, if you guys agreed on not seeing other people during the break, then why was she on dating sites? Is she bipolar? Sounds like maybe a manic episode. She made a careless decision with a stranger. I think you should move on. Unfortunately, whatever it was that caused her infidelity may creep back up if she doesn't figure it out. OP comments saying, the only reason she gave me about the dating app was it was a mistake. She won't elaborate further on it. Another commenter says, she's not your friend, much less your best friend, and she's not wife material. She broke the boundaries you all set right away and would never have told you if she wasn't forced into it. I wouldn't be surprised if she planned that break just to do what she did. Her excuses are complete bullshit. She made you wait for sex but gave it up to him right away. Twice. And cheaters always say it meant nothing. Mark my words, OP. If you marry this woman, hell, if you stay with this woman, you will regret it. Be smart, end this relationship, walk away, and never look back. Your fiancé is a piece of shit. And one more commenter who says it's over. If you marry her, 1, you'll never be able to forget that she cheated, and 2, she'll never be able to respect you because you took her back. She's being extra nice because she wants to get married and not start from scratch to find someone else to marry. Run. At some point later, OP does come back in with an update and says thank you to everyone who reached out. I-28 Mail wasn't able to reply much, but I appreciated everything. Had no one to talk about this whole situation, not even our friend group, because I've been embarrassed. A lot has happened since my original post, so I wanted to provide an update. After taking some time to myself, the numbness is wearing off. Every emotion has been hitting at once. Emptiness, sadness, anger. It's a rotation, and at first I was mad at myself, but now I realize I'm mad at my fiancée, 29 female. I look at her now and I don't recognize the woman I fell in love with. The woman who was my closest friend for half a decade, she's a stranger. The woman I knew wouldn't do half the stuff she did. She used to be so disgusted with cheaters, she actually cut off an old friend over cheating. Some have asked what my fiancé's complicated relationship with sex is. I won't get too much into it because it's personal details about her, but she's been badly shamed before, and she feels sex has messed up good things in her life at different times. She never really respected my demand for time to sort my feelings. She kept pushing and trying to use affection. I did end up asking her about her hooking up with that guy while we were celibate. She claimed celibacy for us was different because she wanted a pure relationship with me and for us to be our strongest and most connected before sex. The other hookup was more inconsequential. I didn't ask her much about further details on the guy because, to be honest, it doesn't change anything for me. I don't have it in me to be a detective and compare stories right now. The facts are, the woman I dedicated my life to cheated and nuked our relationship. I did ask her why though. She claimed she was self-sabotaging. She felt insecure about our relationship and how she'd be as a wife, and she sought comfort through sex. But it only made her feel worse, and she realized she wanted me. I'm still processing her reasoning, to be honest. I don't know what else I could have done. I always reassured her and told her she's the one I wanted to be with. I'd list everything I loved about her. I never had doubt about her or our relationship. There's a lot I'm still figuring out. I know I can't go through with the wedding. The other day I sat her down and called it off. I guess she thought I was preparing to reconcile, so she didn't take it well. She was really broken up. I've never seen her break down or cry like that, and despite everything, it hurt to leave her while she was in that state. She was just in bad shape and saying she didn't want to lose me, and it was the biggest mistake of her life. She'll never do it again. She asked for us to try therapy. She kept asking for me to not give up on us. I'm not in a place to engage in any reconciliation with her, nor do I have any trust in her. She brought up how I promised I'd always be there for her, but now I'm abandoning her like everyone else has, and how we promised each other unconditional love. I don't think her accusations are fair, and it did sting, to be honest. I meant my promises and everything I ever told her, but I didn't just up and leave her. She cheated. She made a decision for the break. She made a decision to download the app, entertain the guy and have sex with him. We're here because of her choices. The unconditional love was a promise we made at the very start of our relationship. We've both dealt with not being accepted for ourselves or only having conditional love. I wanted to reassure her she never had to be anything except herself for me. That was the basis for the promise, that I accepted her wholly. There wasn't a card to pull for cheating. Another thing that makes this all complicated is that we live together. I planned to stay with family for the time being, but she was refusing to let me leave. Like she threw herself in front of the door and refused to move, and then grabbed me when I tried moving around her. I had to call her sister, 31 female, to come get her and talk her down. I've been processing these past few days. This doesn't feel like real life. She's always boasted about us and our relationship meant the world to me. I was never more sure of anything in my life than her. My mindset was already married to her. She's been texting and sending voice notes asking for forgiveness and wanting to reconcile. I haven't replied. I'm not sure if I can move past this. I've told our family and the friend group about the cancellation and breakup. Making the rounds was embarrassing and everyone has a ton of questions. Somehow it hurts more upon each retelling. Our friend group's been mostly understanding, but if you were advocating for me to talk things out with her, I'm not in the headspace to engage with them either. I feel like I lost the life we built and shared. How we went from engaged and the happiest we've ever been to this. How days ago we were just joking about her walking down the aisle with how clumsy she is to now be broken up. I feel so lost and I don't know where to go from here. I'm still coming to terms with everything. Thank you to everyone who's shown support and empathy. I really appreciate it. So the top commenter says to OP, if you stay with her, you relive this pain every day and in every moment. I've been there, and like you, was foolishly holding on due to sunk cost fallacy. It gets worse every day, minimizing yourself and the pain you feel. I stayed for a year after, and the relationship and the fights got worse and worse. I know you'll find happiness with someone else. Sending love. Another commenter says, she's so manipulative. Saying you're leaving like everyone else. What a freaking dirtbag. Please pack your important documents and things and store them away from her. Call her family and tell them she needs help and she needs to stop harassing you. She should be the one to leave. And one more comment who says, sadly, my friend, you don't move past it. You move forward by yourself. At some point in time in the future, you will forgive her. You're going to have to in order to move on with your life. What you will never be able to do is forget about it. That's what's going to eat you from the inside every time you look at her. I'm so very sorry this happened to you. Ugh, the cheek of her to say that you're abandoning her like everyone else in those moments. Dearie me. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being here. Truly is absolutely amazing. And hopefully I'm going to see you in the next one. Take care and much love.